Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy TeflonJohn coming to you courtesy of the I Am TeflonJohn brand and the Art of Reinvention Show. Today we got a Power Pack show. I know I always say Power Pack, but we got family in the house.
What's going on, brother?
And we're about to get into it.
Thank you for having me.
Man, so glad to have you, man.
Glad to be here, brother.
I appreciate.
Absolutely,
yeah, I appreciate you coming on, man. I know you're a busy man. You got your own business and everything,
Yeah,
and so
try to stay busy.
yeah, you got the kids, man. Great
Yeah.
family, man.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get into it, man. Let's go ahead and tell everybody who you are and what it is you do, so that way they'll be able to listen to you.
Absolutely. Anthony Andrews. I'm a fireman, man. I've been a firefighter for the last 14 years. I'm also a teacher at Lynchburg Fire Fighter. I've been a child care provider for almost 6 years.
Okay.
That's what I love to do, man. I try to be versed in all different aspects of the community in some form or fashion, man. Lynchburg is my home, so I've been around here my whole life, obviously.
Okay.
I've wanted to move out, but I've always kept coming back, man. So this is home, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and jump in it. So you being a firefighter, I'm pretty sure when you first started, being a firefighter, I'm pretty sure that you all go to houses and maybe something medical. So could you take us through like what the process is when you first started, like showing up to scenes, whether it be minor or major?
Yeah, absolutely. So what happens? A lot of people don't understand. They think that when we're at a fire station, we're just kind of hanging out watching TV. We're waiting for a call, and half of that is true. We are waiting for a call, but in the interim, man, we're usually training and we're doing some type of cognitive skills to kind of get us prepared for the worst. Because in all, man, firefighters are problem solvers. That's what we do. Somebody calls 911, it's because they're having a bad day or something's going on in their life that's detrimental to them and their family. They're not calling because they don't have nothing else to do, right?
Okay.
So they call 911. Let's say somebody's having chest pain, right?
Mm-hmm.
It could be anything. It doesn't have to be cardiac related chest pain. It could be indigestion. It could be you pulled a muscle in your chest. So somebody calls 911. They talk to a dispatcher here in Lynchburg, and the Lynchburg Communications up on the hill, Callens Mountain Station. The dispatcher gets all the information. They contact the appropriate station through tones. And so what happens is a tone drops in the station, a loud ring, you kind of hear the lights come on, and then that kind of alerts us to get on the truck and get ready to roll out, man. And so what happens, we have only a few seconds to get ourselves together, get on the truck, know exactly where the location is. We even have an iPad in the truck, but still, it's smart for you to be able to be familiar with the territory, right? Yeah. And so we get on the truck, we riding down the road, lights and sirens. Sometimes we don't go lights and sirens depending on the situation. We get to the scene. We always want to assess the scene, no matter if it's a medical call or a fire call, because our safety comes first. We're our number one priority, right? Yeah. And so we arrive on the scene, we're assessing the scene, we're visually seeing what we're there for, and so then we get out of the truck. We usually always have our bags with us, whether it's an airway bag or some type of trauma bag. We'll usually have a heart monitor with us, and then some other pieces of equipment that we need, so that way we don't have to keep on running back and forth to the truck.
Yeah, try to cut down the time.
Absolutely, man, because time is of the essence, right?
Yeah.
Somebody's having a heart problem or a cardiac related issue. We don't want to waste a ton of time just kind of hanging around,
Yeah, very important.
Yeah, so then we go inside, man, and then it's all action. Yeah. We begin with the patient assessment. Patient assessment is me and you just talking, having a conversation. Mm-hmm. You're telling me that you're having pain. Well, obviously you're breathing because you're talking, right? Airway, breathing, circulation. Yeah. I know exactly what you're going through. I'm looking at you, so I know you have full color. Mm-hmm. I'm physically touching you, right? So I'm feeling your heart rate with my hand by checking your pulse. I'm also checking your skin temperature. Mm-hmm. I'm doing all these different things. You think I'm just talking to you, but I've already started assessing.
Yeah, so that's a pretty good skill, man.
Yeah, man. It takes some time to learn that, though. It's not something that you just automatically you actually capture. So
yeah. Now, what I love about firemen, man, is like really it didn't really get highlighted, in my opinion, to 9/11. Yeah, when the whole narrative was people running out of a building, you got firemen running in a building. Sure. So no matter what when it gets drastic, you got people trying to evacuate, but how does it feel, or what you have in the family and your wife knowing that when it all comes down to it, like something that she has to get out, you have to gear up and go in.
Absolutely. It's a scary feeling, man, because I have 2 little ones that depend on, you know, income, right? Or depend on me being present in their lives, right? My wife depends on me for just having a relationship and a marriage, right? And growing together. You know, I think it's funny because the movies highlight dramatic scenes in an emergency situation, right?
Yeah.
So you take, for example, if you have a room that's on fire, and in that room in the movie you see flames on the other side of the room, and those guys are in there and they fighting fire and everything, and they look heroic, right? That couldn't be far from the truth, right? In a real life situation, you're never able to see the fire because smoke, it builds up so much.
Yeah, I never thought
it hits
about
the
that.
ceiling. It starts banking down even before we arrive. So the only way that we can know where a fire is, a flame is by a thermal imaging camera and by just simply listening.
Wow, I never thought about
Just
that.
by simply, so we make ourselves into a room, and then the only thing we can do is everybody just be quiet, and you can hear fire crackling and fire popping. And so that's where we know exactly where the fire is, and we start searching the room for people, of course, and pets, and then we start making our way to the fire. And then you can feel heat, obviously, but we never walk in the room and we say, oh yeah, there's fire over there, let's go on over there. It's never that visible. So yeah.
Got you. So could you walk me through a moment where, like, I guess dealing with a fire or some type of, you know, like emergency accident, nothing where there's bodily harm, but you realize, yeah, like this is what I want to do, actually help somebody today?
Actually, man, it wasn't an emergency scene at all that happened that transpired for me to believe in that or think that. In fact, it was my first public education event, because I believe in early childhood education, right? That's my love, right? And so when I started in 2003, I joined Station 3 on 4th Avenue, and we were able to go to Sandusky Middle School, man, and just kind of hang out with some kids and talk about making better decisions, right? And it clicked to me the fact that we had easy access to the school, and to be able to inspire these kids to start making better decisions for their life. And it was that moment that I realized that this was a cool opportunity. It was a career that I wanted to be in. It was very rewarding, and I wanted to get more of it. I wanted to inspire other people around me to do the same. So it wasn't necessarily an emergency situation that kind of helped me realize that. It was really just kind of giving back, man, to the community. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Got you. So when it comes to that, do you think that's a sacrifice that most professionals don't want to make because you invest in time? Because really, like, the only thing that I find out, like, is when I'm inspiring people or trying to do, is a lot of times you have to invest time. Money will come times where you gotta fork out money, but most of the time it's just a sacrifice in time.
Sacrificing time is exactly right. You know, unfortunately, firefighters have the luxury of doing those things because we have time on our side, right? So if we at a station for 24 hours a day, we have the time to go and spend at a school, right?
Yeah.
Unless we're on a call, right? So we're not taking away time from our families because we're already at the station. We're already assigned, right? But there are a ton of firefighters that are sacrificing time and family time away from home on their days off, and they still are doing these type of things.
Gotcha.
So it doesn't happen always when we're at the station or when we have our uniform on. There's a ton of guys that go and do the same thing on their days off.
Okay. Yeah. So what would you say would be the biggest misconception of firefighters and emergency rescue crew?
Oh man, the biggest misconception of firefighters.
Even when it comes to like what we see on TV or what the general public may know.
Yeah. So I would take, for example, the fire thing where we talked about not being able to really see fire. I think there's a misconception that every firefighter is a brother. Like, in other words, we have this strong brotherhood and everybody gets along and we're one big family, right? And everybody likes each other. That can be far from the truth because we're all human. Firefighters are human just like anybody else out in the world, right?
Yeah.
So if you're working if you're a doctor, you don't like all the physicians in your office, right? You may be able to tolerate them.
Yeah, we're human.
And you may be able to socialize with them, right? but there are times where you can't work with them, right?
Yeah.
Just because their beliefs are different from your beliefs, or some of the things they say may offend you.
Yeah.
And the firefighters are no different.
Same thing.
We live together 24 hours a day, and there are some times where you just kind of want to escape from everybody because you don't want to hang around with everybody, or you get into these political debates, or talking about religion, or whatever the case may
Kinda
be.
puts a gap in the relationship.
Yeah, so I think there's a misconception there. We're family, and that we love each other all the time, and that's not the truth, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, now one thing I do like is by you going to schools and like things that I'm doing and motivational speaking is, you know, I think it's important that people see, especially our young black men, African Americans, doing something other than entertainment and playing sports.
Man, I get tired of that.
Yeah,
man.
so how important do you think it is for them to see you, people like Derek Parley being a politician, me being a motivational speaker, just young African American males that they can actually emulate?
I think it's important, man, because it's reality, right? Like, how many people are going to actually make it to the NBA, right? How many people are going to make it to the NFL? It's like 1% chance, right? And even with that, it's genetics based, because you got to be able to. I mean, of course, you can work your skill set as much as you possibly can. You can practice all day and every day, right? But if you're 5'8" like me, most likely I won't be able to get into the NBA unless I'm Muggsy Bogues, right? And so I think it's important for people to know that you can still be a great person without the fame and the fortune. Yeah. The fame and the fortune is one thing, and I appreciate that. And I mean, who doesn't want to be rich, right? You're right. Who doesn't want to have money, right? But also, man, at the end of the day, I want to be able to lay my head down and say that I'm still a good person at heart, and I've done as much as I possibly can for my community. So I think it's important for people to see positive guys being productive, taking care of their families, going to work every day, having strong work ethic, having ethics, having integrity, right? Being able to be honest with ourselves and with other people, man. So I think that's the most important. I can't say that. I did. I had a ton of those guys around me growing up. They just didn't get highlighted because they weren't in the newspaper, or they weren't on social media, or they weren't, on the news. But these guys were everyday guys, working, going to school, taking care of their families, and you never heard about them because they were handling their business, man. So I think it's important. I really do.
And I think it's good because the age we live in, like when me and you went to Glass, there was no social media. Nope. So the pressure was different.
Man, we had pen pals, man. We had to write a letter to somebody. Man.
So I think now, even saying that now is like watching you do, like like being a firefighter is picking a career. Yeah. I think now the pressure is on to pick a career that everyone will accept.
So here's the problem with firefighters. We have a very low percentage of minorities in the fire department. Why is that? Well, the reason why is because we're not exposed to that. Our white male counterparts have had history of volunteering in their communities and volunteering in their counties, and they bring their children along, and those children, get the exposure to that job, and they feel like they start to love that job. They love the camaraderie that it comes with that. But for minorities, man, I ask people, hey, do you want to become a firefighter? Man, I ain't going in there. So that's usually the answer that I receive. Yeah. And so I think this job as a firefighter has no more fear than going to a basketball camp. Because when you go to a basketball camp, you still got to make friends. You still got to impress the coach. You still got to do your best. It's a hustle. It's hard work, right? Yep. You may even have two practices a day, But it's no more. The firefighting is no more scarier than being put in a situation where you have to impress a whole team of people about your skill set or grow your skill set. So I would like for people, especially minorities, man, to not be afraid to test the waters and do something that's uncomfortable to them, try it out.
And I think that's great, man, because when you see it, like when I grew up, you would see like what society told you, like be a doctor, be a lawyer, And then I think when you come home and you look in your neighborhood, you don't see doctors, lawyers, all you see is your parents working hard, trying to make a 9 to 5.
Absolutely.
And there's a very low percentile of like African American kids with entrepreneurs for parents.
Yeah.
You know, and I believe, like I said, but I think we're doing a good job paving the way. Yeah. A lot of people in Lynchburg, you know, like Derek Polly really surprised me by even taking a huge step.
Taking a leap, man.
Yeah, like right after
City
Black
Council.
Panther came out, I think it was important for kids to see that right around the same time, because we're changing the perception of the African American male.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I guess I applaud you for everything that you do.
Thanks, brother.
Now,
Appreciate that.
then when it comes to firefighting, before we wrap up the interview, what is something that really helps you grow? Like going through like your hardest time or trying to get acclimated to it. Like, what was that growth process like?
Man, I'm still growing. But you know what fuels me is the opportunity to be different. Like, I enjoy not running with the pack, right? And so it fuels me to be the guy at the fire station that's looking at interior design books, right? Or interested in bow ties, or interested in childcare. You know, I don't have to be like everybody else, right?
Yeah.
So I'm still growing internally. I still have a lot of growth to do.
Yeah.
But then I'm also thinking about how can I impact the community in other ways other than fire service. So for me, it would be education. For me, it would be getting on the school board. For me, it would be trying to become a council member, mayor of Lynchburg one day.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's my dream. Or doing something else. But I'm still growing, man. I don't know if I've ever mastered the skill of growth.
Yeah.
I think I'm still growing every day.
That's good.
Yeah.
And growth is uncomfortable.
It
it
is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, when I started doing this and you know, wasn't really my comfort zone when I was young, around like your daughter's age and younger, I had a speech impediment, went to speech, and public speaking and doing things like this was completely out of the ordinary. But I think that it's very important that we teach our kids, like, hey, you can work towards anything.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
I think that we live in the microwave generation. Everything's instant. Everything but oatmeal, you know.
Yeah.
So you want the instant oatmeal, the fast food, and you want to develop in life fast. And it's nothing like, you got to live in that process. So could you speak to kids, if you could say anything to a lot of kids that are watching, why is going through the process so important, more than so the end goal?
Absolutely. All right, so look, to you kids out there, there's a quote that my dad used to tell me years ago, and of course I didn't grow up with my dad being around, so I grew up in a single parent household also, right? So if I could tell you one thing, I could tell you that there is no pursuit of happiness. The pursuit is happiness, right? And so there is no light at the end of the tunnel. If you get to the point where when you've mastered everything in life and there is no more growth period, then you should just stop. Like at that point, there's nothing else for you to do in life. But it's not about the end game. It's really about the journey. And so my daughter said something during her graduation at Palmer Royal Elementary School. She said success isn't easy, and it's not. Success is hard work. If everybody could be successful, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
Everybody would do it.
Right? And I'm going to give you an example. I'm dyslexic. A lot of people don't know that. So I have a hard time, even in my teenage years, I had a hard time reading. All right? And how do you get better at reading? You just do it, right? You sit in a corner, in a quiet corner, and you read as much as you possibly can. Now, I love reading. I read business books. I read entrepreneurship books. I read magazines. I read the newspaper. I read every article. And it doesn't have to be anything that's pertaining to what I'm doing right now. I like to know what's going on in the world, so current events. So that way when I'm having a conversation, I'm networking with people, I know exactly how to get on that level. I know how to adapt to the surrounding that I'm in.
Yeah.
So I would encourage all you kids out there to read as much as you possibly can. Literacy is the way to close that achievement gap. And try to take in as much information as you possibly can. The other stuff that's going on around you, social media, YouTube videos that don't give you any value to your life, is just simply a distraction. That's all it is. And so if you cannot be proficient in the new things in the world, whether that be technology, whether that be biotechnology, whether that be politics or education, If you're not adding any value to the world, you are wasting space. And I don't want you to waste space. I want you to be productive. I want you to give back to the world in some form or fashion. And I want everybody to see your potential and your growth. So stop wasting time, man. Come on, together. I want to see our minority kids, man. I want them to be proud of themselves, and I want them to make their families proud, man. You know, and try to do something productive with their lives. They have a whole lot more opportunity today than we had growing up, man.
A lot of access, man.
Absolutely.
And what I want to end with, this will be the last question, is I know a lot of people, you know, like the Bible speaks about a prophet not being heard in his own home.
Wow.
Talking about, you know, Jesus not being received in his own hometown, but it starts in the home.
It does.
So could you give us just like some nuggets or some value that you always try to put into your kids?
All right. So number one is I don't want my son to be a statistic. So he's 5 years old. He's a young black male, right? Very, very smart, got an engineering mind, but not really sociable, right? Unless you kind of help bring that out to him. But what I want to let him know that he's beautiful, right? And he has a purpose in life. And the same thing with my daughter. I don't want her to grow up feeling like she's a young black girl that has to go out and twerk and stuff. I want her to feel like she's beautiful, right? But also, I think this is a point that me and my wife try to bring home to them is financial stability, right? Learning about money management and credit. It's not, you're never too young to start learning about that stuff, right? Financial security, and being kind, like having great manners and being kind. And I think that drives a long way. And I'm gonna give you an example. So my wife and I recently went out to Olive Garden, right, with the kids, and we were hanging out, eating dinner, whatever. Waitress comes by, she says, "Your kids are so well mannered." Why are they well mannered? Well, and first of all, we appreciate that. Thank you for the compliment. Well, they're well mannered because they know we don't play. Why we don't play? Because you're not going to be out in public embarrassing us, right? And so we try to teach them the same way that we were taught growing up. And I think in a way, people kind of stop being parents and want to be their kids' best friends.
Right.
And I'm not your best friend. I'm your dad, right?
That's what
I'm
it
your
is.
father. So I'm not your friend, you know? I'm your father first and foremost, and my job as your father is to protect you and to validate you. My wife's job is to love you and encourage you. We both know our separate roles and responsibilities, right? And so, can I love? Absolutely. Can my wife validate it? Absolutely. But we have separate roles. And so my job is to protect and validate. And so if you're not doing what you're supposed to do, you're going to have a conversation with me. It may be more than a conversation. But I ain't scared to be a father to my kids because there's a world out there that wants to see them fail.
Oh, yeah. And it's very important that we as parents actually step in and spend time.
Absolutely.
And they hear that, you know, they're beautiful, you know, they're handsome, they're great from us, because if not, old boy up the block could do it.
Absolutely.
If not, old girl up the block could do it. If not, BET, VH1 to do it.
Somebody will do it.
Yeah.
Somebody will raise your kids if you're not present.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I just believe with having social media, it's very, very important that you have conversations daily with your children, because we're seeing a lot of, I think, school shootings are manifestations of something that went wrong at home, whether it be a child having a problem and didn't have any outlets, a child having a problem and just was ignored. Something's going on internally with our children of this generation, and it's up to us as parents to be the first partaker in making that change. And we can start making our schools better by starting at home.
Amen, brother. I like it. Absolutely. Yep.
Hey, so it's great having you, man.
Thanks
Look, it's good to see you again.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I'm gonna definitely get you back on the show for entrepreneurship and everything, man.
Anytime, man. You know it. Yes, sir.
One love. Be blessed.